off-road. That's a bridge replacement project. Putting in a new Route 51 in Lindsay Lane in Limestone County. They've got a detour mark there. And look for northbound on the Tennessee River Bridge, I-65, throughout the day today. Routine care to heart failure. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Message and data rates may apply.
Come on, one more rep. You got this. 10. There it is. Nice work. You're a beast.
Thanks, man. I feel better than I have in years. And I got to tell you, taking Nugenix makes a huge difference for me.
Nugenix? That's the testosterone booster with TV ads with Frank Thomas. The big hurt, right?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is Testofen, which helps boost free testosterone levels and increase lean muscle mass.
Well, it's clearly working for you. Hey, are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves?
Yeah, Nugenix is a great way to increase lean muscle and feel stronger with more energy and endurance.
Man, I need to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix.
No problem. You just got to send them a text. Text both to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of new Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help get you back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text BOTH to 42424. That's both to 42424.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Mike's on.
And welcome back, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond with you until 9 a.m. And that is how we started the show this morning. Drew all fired up because of Bill Rafferty. You are a big Bill Rafferty fan.
Yes,
we have
Bill Rafferty is just unbelievable. Coach Raff, I mean, I thought, once again, him, Jim Nance, Grant Hill, great stuff. But Coach Raff is just unreal. He's been doing it since the early days of the Big East, back after he got through coaching Seton Hall in the early 80s, probably around the same time as Dick Vitale. He's just an institution, and I love his style. I think he's still sharp as ever. Love the voice, unmistakable delivery, and I thought it was well done again last night.
All right. Let's move on, shall we, this morning? Where was I going to go with this? Both Alabama and Auburn midweek baseball schedule changes. Want to get that out there because both Alabama and Auburn going through changes. Auburn was supposed to play today. That is not going to happen. That has been canceled. Kennesaw State was the opponent, but Kennesaw State dealing with COVID-19 issues, so Auburn will not have a midweek baseball game this week. Alabama was supposed to play 2 with ULM. Now they're only going to play 1.
And I have a funny feeling that's because of the pitching injuries and lack of available arms. Especially with a weekend series coming up against Texas A&M. I don't think they felt comfortable in playing 5 games in a week, and so in a lot of ways, once the SEC starts, you don't see that. You see in the pre-conference is when you see 2 midweek games sometimes, and so I think Alabama, due to the fact that they've got some pitchers banged up, decided. That's just an educated guess on my part, but I would think that they they called ULM and said, hey, we definitely want to play you guys, but we're just going to play one game. We need to, save some pitchers potentially for the weekend in the conference play.
All right, we move on into college football. And when I ran across this story, I had to read it. And the headline was kind of like, it kind of made me scratch my head. And then when I read the whole story, it's just kind of like, wow. Tennessee linebacker Aaron Beasley is in trouble for animal abuse. Beasley has been accused of animal abuse by his girlfriend's roommate after reportedly injuring a kitten. According to a GoFundMe, which has raised more than $2,000, the kitten's owner found the 6-month-old animal hiding under a dresser, unable to walk. Knoxville police told WBIR that Beasley was the person at the center of an animal abuse complaint, though no charges have been filed. Beasley has been suspended from the Tennessee program as they can continue to investigate this a little bit more. The kitten has been placed on an oxygen tank and has brain injuries. So Beasley is accused of the animal abuse and has been suspended by head coach Josh Heupel.
Yeah, that's a terrible situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that. I mean, it's a defenseless animal. I mean, from that standpoint, I mean, especially when you're talking about a cat or a dog that really just wants to be your companion, what are you doing? I mean, why are you taking it out on a young kitten? I mean, are you getting your rocks off, doing that? I mean, that's just terrible. Yeah. I mean, I saw the story and I thought it was bizarre. But it's just right now more fodder for folks about Tennessee because they just can't seem to get out of their own way.
And what it does is there were numerous transfers at the linebacker position for Tennessee in the offseason. And if all of this comes to light and Aaron Beasley is missing time, and he should if it's all true, it will leave Tennessee ultra thin at that linebacker spot because Beasley was expected to come in and start this year for Tennessee.
Well, they're going to have to attack the portal after spring. What they're going to have to do. I mean, Tennessee's going to have to bring some guys in May and June to join the fray at certain positions. And if and when this as we've heard from our good friend Jake Crane, that this transfer rule is going to be put into effect coming up, in a few weeks, then Tennessee is going to have to be ultra aggressive to try to fill some of the holes for what they want to do on defense and really throughout their football team.
Something kind of fun popped up, and I saw this, and man, we've talked a lot about pro days. We've talked about the NFL draft, and we're going to continue to get everybody ready for the NFL draft as it gets closer. Last week, we went over Todd McShay's mock draft 4.0, and obviously we will talk Mac Jones at the third pick to San Francisco. Should they take him? Should they take Trey Lance? Should they take Justin Fields? And that debate will continue and continue on and on. But who should be the first running back off the board? Would it be Travis Etienne? Will it be Najee Harris? Najee, as we were told last week by Najee. And I tell you what, Drew, he has become really a lot of these interviews that these draft prospects do between now and draft time really they're almost interview things because these teams watch a lot of these draft things and how they come out, how these interviews come across, if they're personable, not personable. Najee Harris has really become personable in a lot of these interviews, and he has sat down with Adam Schefter from ESPN and did a podcast with Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter has a podcast that's been on for about 3 years now. And Najee Harris drove 9 hours to Alabama's pro day the other day. Didn't work out, didn't do anything. Here is Adam Schefter talking to Najee about just that.
You know a bunch about you. I know this was very interesting. I know that the night before in Alabama pro day, you're in Dallas and you're supposed to fly to Birmingham. The flight gets canceled and you drive 9 hours to Birmingham to get to the pro day when you weren't even working out. What made you do that?
There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. First of all, I wanted to support my teammates for sure because, I don't know when's the last time we're going to be together, especially throughout this stuff. That was the last time really recently that I might see these guys for a long time. But and then another thing was I wanted to do a workout at 7 a.m. in the morning. So I drove I left probably Dallas at 9. And I was my flight got canceled because of lightning. And then I was stopping, throughout the drive, I was stopping, take a little break. That was the worst thing I could have done. Because after I took a nap and I woke up, but my eyes did not want to wake up. It was just really falling, just going lower and lower. So I pulled over again, another nap. And then I started playing some music. I was just yelling the whole time I got there. And I got there around 6:50 a.m. I made it just in time for my 7 a.m. workout. So after my 6:50 a.m., I got there at 6:50 a.m. I didn't go home yet. Didn't take a shower, nothing. Went straight to my workout. Was there for an hour. And then I had to do weigh-ins. So I was working out from 7 to 8. Then from 8 to 9, I did weigh-ins and the measurements of hands and heights like that. Then 8 to 9, then 9 to 9:45 I had a meeting. And then 10 to 10 something, 10 whatever. It was the broad jump, the vertical, all that stuff. And, I want to be there to support my teammates. And I want to make sure I was there the whole day. I was there from 6:50 a.m., the whole drive, all the way up until 5. So I only had 50 minutes of sleep that whole time, bro. And the 50-minute sleep was when I was pulling over on the side of the road, taking those little small naps.
Were you worried about falling asleep on the wheel at all, Najee?
I mean, when I was getting, I'm a spontaneous dude. So I always prepare myself for stuff like this. But anytime I was tired, I'll just go on the side of the road, take a little nap, and then I'll wake up. But I was falling asleep on the wheel. So but when that happens, I just pull over, take a little nap.
If I had driven through the night,
that's some scary situation, though, to think that he was. But
hey, all I keep thinking about is Tokyo Drift, man. When we went to the Super Bowl,
driving through the night,
we got up at we started our trip at 1 o'clock in the morning, getting gas in Scottsboro, outrunning a blizzard, getting to the venue, checking in with no sleep.
Yes.
Staying till about 5 o'clock ourselves with no sleep.
Yes.
And then going back to the house our great friend Wes Neighbors rented so we could finally get some sleep.
And play cards, though. We had to play cards that night.
Well, I didn't play for long. I think everybody understands that. I think we were all zombies. You weren't even thinking about food, man. It was crazy.
But that is some good stuff there from Najee
That's
Harris.
what I started thinking about when Najee said, I'm a spontaneous dude. I just decided to drive. And then I stayed up all day till 5 o'clock. Stayed till 5 o'clock. Dedication, everybody. It should be a first-round pick or start firing front offices. That's all I can say.
That's what obviously the talk will come about in the next couple weeks because the countdown is really on to the draft. And people talk about the quarterbacks, because there's 4 or 5 quarterbacks out there. But what about the running back spot? Is it Etienne? Is it Harris? Which one is going to go before each other, or does it even really matter?
They're both great players. I would take Najee. I think he's a bigger guy. I think he's the better receiver. Even though Etienne really improved in that area, I think Najee, of course, has learned to block. I think he's a great goal line runner. I think both of them should probably be, picked in the first round, and starting in the lower teens into the through 32. I think they both earned that. But the quarterback situation is interesting because we kept talking about the Carolina Panthers, and people thought they would perhaps draft Mac Jones. Well, that's not happening. They're not taking a first-round pick. A quarterback in the first round, 8th overall, as the people had been kind of hinting at this, but they make a trade with the Jets. It just shows you now the Jets are absolutely starting over at the quarterback position, very likely with Zach Wilson, number 2 overall from BYU, as they trade Sam Darnold to Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers for a slew of draft picks, a 6th-round pick this year in 2021, but 2nd and 4th-round picks in 2022, Scott.
Yeah, so they have their quarterback. Well, they have 2 of them now on that roster. What does Carolina do? And obviously Drew, they're going to more than likely take Zach Wilson, the New York Jets, at number 2.
Yeah.
And then that'll leave the greatest of all mankind to go number 1 still to Jacksonville. And it's that number 3 spot. It's that San Francisco spot that people want to talk about. And Mac Wilson. And if you head to 977ESPN.com, you can. Our own Jordy McElroy did a thing on why Mac Jones has skyrocketed up the draft boards a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Mac Jones, or is it going to be Trey Lance, or is it going to be Justin Fields? Which one will get the 3rd spot?
Is somebody else going to trade up? Is the New England Patriots? How bad do they want a quarterback? They need one bad. So, I mean, are they going to trade up from 15 to try to get into that top 10 to get one of those top 5 quarterbacks? It looks like QB is definitely going to be the top 3 picks. And the Atlanta Falcons, Kyle Pitts, everybody. Kyle Pitts, everybody. Kyle Pitts, everybody. Don't blow it.
You want the Falcons to take Kyle Pitts?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah. Onions.
Did you watch the baseball game yesterday between Texas? Did you see the Texas Rangers? Did you see the full baseball stadium yesterday?
Did not.
It was
but I'm glad to see it.
It was a good sight.
I know Joe probably his head exploded, but oh well.
We need to take a break because when we come back, we will talk baseball a little bit. Major League Baseball does have a home for the All-Star game. We'll talk about it.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a house fire and a vehicle fire in Decatur that they think may be related. The house fires in the 1000 block of Hillwood. The vehicle fires in the parking lot of La Quinta Inn on the Beltline. Decatur Fire and Rescue work in both of those scenes. Highway 36 in Morgan County is closed near Cutoff Road. Got a bridge replacement there, and they're going to do bridge inspection instruction northbound I-65 Tennessee River Bridge today. You could get Popeye Shrimp Tackle Box or Surf and Turf for $5. It's 8 crunchy buttermilk shrimp or 4 regular shrimp with a side and a biscuit. Popeyes, Jordan Lane, North Parkway, and 72 at Jeff Road. Captain Nick and the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked the reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
With WOW Internet, your home is more than just a home. It can be your office, and also a school, and a gym, and a store, a movie theater, a bar. You need speed and reliability to do it all. Get Superfast Internet 100 for a crazy low $29.99 a month. Plus, for a limited time, get a free modem for 6 months. Sign up today at wowway.com.
Wow.
Limited to new customers with auto pay and paperless bill.
Want to call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline? We have a new number for you. 888-256-576-4977.
Hold it!
That's 256-576-4977.
Well, what do you know?
We promise this number will be the one we keep. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama, located online at universitykia.com. From the Alabama Crimson Tide to the Atlanta Braves, we are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
I know.
6:42 on a Tuesday morning. Welcome in 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline and see what kind of pleasantries and happiness he's going to bring to the table today. Jeff from the Burrows with us.
What's up, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, boy, that's a classic, wasn't it, Drew? Hot day in the morning. I better hurry up, DVR that one so I can watch it every day. That was a classic one, wasn't it? Was there a 17-point shot Suggs could do? Well, I better hurry up and draft him for the NBA draft. Oh, he's a great ball player, isn't he?
He is. He's a great player. They got a lot of times a matchup like this doesn't live up to it, and once again, it didn't. I mean, certainly Gonzaga had a great basketball team. They just ran into the best team in America. And
well, Scott, you ready to watch it? You said yesterday everybody wanted to watch it. So, well, they really watched it last night.
I'm sure the ratings were great, but it just ended up not being a great game.
About the first 4 minutes, it was great. It was what 12-1, and everybody turned it off, and it's over with. I will go do something else. Go watch some baseball or something. Baseball season's going on. I will watch it. Well, I've got the Braves can't score, so they won't win. I forgot that they can't hit. So I watched the Cubs last night. So that they beat the Brewers again. So I watched them. So at least they can hit a little bit.
So what you're telling us, Jeff, is once again you turned the channel after the first 4 minutes.
Well, no, I did watch a little bit of the first half. It was 18-20, and then I watched some of the second half to see if got to go back in. Of course, they didn't. So they got beat. But Baylor made up for that 1948 loss to Kentucky in the championship. So it took them 70 years, but they made up for it. So they got a championship. So proud of them. I didn't really care who won, so it didn't really matter. But it wasn't a classic game. I think I'll take 85 in Georgetown and Villanova. I'll take 82 in Carolina and Georgetown when the guy threw it to the wrong man. I think I'll take that over last night's pleasantries. So, but I know was there a concert last night at halftime? Make sure we can find out what that was from that call yesterday. So we could find out, but
didn't see one.
No, but I didn't see one either. So didn't need to be one. But
I didn't watch the first one though. I'll admit that I didn't watch the one.
I didn't watch.
I didn't even know she was singing, so that just tells you how much I was paying attention.
I didn't watch it either. But
well, we know that.
Drew, I did want to say too. Are you going to be baseball commissioner now? I guess Manfred can't do the job of taking the commissioner All-Star game out of Atlanta. A guy up here said yesterday it was a business decision by baseball. He thinks that he thought that later on some of the black players wouldn't play in the game. They boycotted, like Mookie Betts and some of them. They wouldn't play in the game because of the Georgia law. So it's going to Denver now. I guess it'll be a fine game, I guess, and they'll still honor Henry Aaron and they had about 7 or 8 Hall of Famers that passed away last year, so they'll probably honor them too. So it'll be a good deal, and everything. So, but baseball's fine, and also Drew, I'm sure you saw last week or a couple weeks ago where the NCAA Board of Governors give Mark Emmert a vote of confidence, so he'll be around for a long time. I know you don't like him either, though, so I'm sure you'll be running the NCAA pretty soon. Just like that guy on Twitter said, you never played him down a football, but boy, you sure know how these quarterbacks going to turn out. Justin Fields is a bum, and Mac Jones is going to be another Joe Montana. So y'all hang in there and see if y'all can watch the draft. Hang in there.
Well, thanks for the pleasantries. It's always good to get
always great stuff from Jeff.
Makes you feel good about yourself, doesn't it?
Dumb likes to comment on dumber. You got to love that. Shut down Clown and Jeff. 2 idiots if there ever was one.
Boy.
They have their right to their opinions, just like I do. I'm paid to give mine. You're not smart enough to get paid to do yours. So, keep calling in. We appreciate you listening, though. We love our listeners, even when they make fools of themselves when they call in. So, but we enjoy it. They have the right to their opinions, and we're going to let them express them here, and then we're going to rip them when they're stupid.
That is true. And the thing is going into last night, yes, it was 2 number 1 seeds. It was the 2 teams that had been ranked number 1, number 2 for pretty much the whole entire year. So the expectations going around last night's game was that it was going to be a classic. Not a classic. It was going to be
everybody
a good
wanted
basketball
to see the game. And I thought it had a chance to be. I mean,
yes.
But see, Jeff brought up some good points during the conversation. The 82 Georgetown, North Carolina game. It was a great game. Jordan shot. The next year, 83, back-to-back. The dunk from Lorenzo Charles and Valvano running, across the floor. 85, a very close game. Villanova and Georgetown. Villanova basically had to play the perfect game. I mean, there's a lot of great games, man. There's no doubt about it. The UConn, Duke final where UConn won their first championship in '99. There's been a lot of outstanding
or Duke UNLV
games.
the second time.
Yeah, and that was a semifinal, but
yes.
we're just talking about championship games. It wasn't a great championship final. Now, UCLA and Gonzaga was a great game. We just didn't get a great game in the finals, and he's completely right about that. I disagree with him on the quarterback situation and in baseball. If he thinks Rob Manfred is a good commissioner, then he just needs to give himself a lobotomy because Major League Baseball has not had good leadership in a long, long time. I mean, that's why they have so much labor strife. There's no reason to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta because they have more stringent voting laws in places like New York.
Right.
So why are you doing this? It's to look woke. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that's just stupid. You're penalizing the Braves. You're penalizing the great people of Atlanta. You're penalizing the people in Georgia. Henry Aaron is one of the greatest ball players to ever walk the planet Earth. We just lost him at 86 years old. The Braves have been promoting this All-Star game for over a year. They would have been able to pay such great tribute to Hank Aaron at this All-Star game, and you take it away from him for total bullcrap. Okay? And if you don't think so, I can't help you. Okay? I'm just saying I just felt like it was unjust, and it's penalizing the Braves. It's penalizing the people in the southeastern United States because of, to me, elitism from idiots that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. As we talked about yesterday, I've looked over the bill. I've looked over everything.
Yeah.
And if I'm missing something, let me know. But I don't see – I guess I'm not seeing what everybody else is seeing. And I don't – and if, like I said, if I'm missing something, let me know. Let's go back out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brian's with us. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Brian.
Hey, guys.
How are you doing, sir?
Good. So last night, what do you think the key was for Baylor? Like the one thing that jumped out at you? For me, obviously Gonzaga cannot guard the ball.
Right. Baylor's guards were too good.
And I think defensively, the pressure that Baylor put on Gonzaga, I mean, I don't think Gonzaga was ready for that pressure that they were ready to face from the intense pressure of the ball.
As they say, they were up in their grill.
Yes.
Well, obviously we were pulling for Baylor because of Pete and his connection with, us in Huntsville. But,
yes,
the one thing that worried me about Gonzaga was they do such a good job with Tim with a high ball screen, and that gave UCLA such problems. But they're big. Baylor's bigs were so active.
Yeah, they were. They're really athletic. They're not great offensively, but they really know how to guard. And then, they did an outstanding job. There's no question about that. And that they were able to be physical. And I just thought all five of their guys were really physical with Gonzaga, and Gonzaga didn't really punch back. I mean, they were still skilled enough to, because trust me, they're a regular basketball team or a team that's not as talented as Gonzaga, with the way Baylor came out with the haymakers defensively and the way they were shooting threes, they would have been down 30, and this thing would have just been done. But,
well, the thing that saved them was they made, 11 or 13 free throws in the first half.
Yeah, they got to the free throw line. That's right. Right.
And they did, and I know Baylor, they ran, it was a buzzsaw last night, but Gonzaga's good. I mean, they're really good.
They are.
At times, they're offensively, but like you said, Drew, and Coach Pete has said this to me a lot. It's TTW, toughest team wins. And their toughness, their grit, I mean, Mitchell up top. I mean, I don't know how Auburn let that get out the door. Good night.
Oh, that's what we were talking about earlier. I mean, great talent. I mean, he didn't have any medical issues or anything of that nature, but it's just one of those things where Mitchell, and Pearl likes guards that are gritty like that. That's why it surprised me that he let the kid get away. But I mean, Scott Drew was on top of it, and that team is such a well-connected team. And like you said, they really got about 8 starters. They don't have a ton of depth, but the guys they've got are tremendous. And then again, I just thought when they needed it last night, in the first half, we saw how good Butler was, and then Mitchell started to pick it up, and then Teague, and of course they got Teague from a mid-major, but they just do a great job, as Coach Pete said. Bill Peterson on Friday. They just do a great job of developing their guys, and this is an older team. And to me, it's not so much that Gonzaga isn't going down as the greatest team in ever, undefeated. It's more that Baylor, we see really how good they are.
Yeah, and last night Baylor had 16 offensive rebounds. Gonzaga had 5. Incredible. Baylor made 10 3-pointers. Gonzaga made 5.
And Gonzaga can really shoot it. I mean, defensively, Baylor just sped them up, and it was a buzzsaw. And granted, Baylor's making shots, and when you're making shots, you're not going to beat them. And when they make 10 threes, you're not beating them, whoever you are. I mean, they're really good. But no, I was happy for Coach Pete. I mean, he's a journeyman. Obviously, was a great coach here, and but I texted him last night, and they're so excited. I'm just grateful for that. Yeah, and they win the right way. Both those teams win the right way. They it's about developing guys. They got good kids. Good, Coach Hughes, a humble guy, and obviously Scott Drew just does a great job. And it's just an incredible story to take Baylor from where they were back in early 2000s. I mean, that program was in shambles, and for them to win a national championship. And I didn't realize they were only the second team in Texas to ever win it.
Yeah, that's crazy. 1966, Texas Western, now UTEP. And then, the unsung hero last night was Mark Vidal. He had nearly 10 offensive rebounds himself. He was, channeling his inner Jawan Gary. He's only 6'5", but he was going amongst the trees. And that was the key, too, early. Baylor was just playing harder than Gonzaga. They punched them. They got on the offensive glass even when they weren't making shots, and they just killed the Zags. To be honest with you, and Brian, you've been around the game. You played it at a very high level in high school and college. You coached. The thing is, it was really a credit to Gonzaga to only be down 10 at halftime after what we saw out of Baylor.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you, and there's something to be said now. And Grant Hill talked about this last night,
right?
In the commentary, that Gonzaga had a hangover, and you could tell from UCLA game.
Yeah,
and it's hard. I mean, and he talked about when Duke beat UNLV in the semis that they came out flat in the championship, and that's just natural. That's a natural thing, especially when you're dealing. And these guys are really mature, obviously, for collegiate teams, but. I mean, that's a factor. And like you said, they just jumped on them. I mean, the first 5 minutes of the game, it felt like it was over. When they got to 29-10, you're like, oh my goodness. I mean, it was a crazy first half.
Yep.
But I'm really happy for Baylor and obviously Gonzaga too. That both those teams, those are the two that need to be playing for the championship. And although it was a blowout, it was still fun to watch. And I'm just grateful that we got to watch basketball this year.
Absolutely, no doubt. Appreciate the phone
Thanks
call,
Brian. Thanks for the call, Brian.
And I'll say this too, with that Duke win over UNLV.
Yeah,
I do remember as soon as the buzzer sounded after Anderson Hunt missed that 3. I mean, Duke was celebrating, but Coach K was like, "Calm down." Bobby Hurley was the same way. And they did come out a little emotionally flat to start the Kansas game, but they got it going.
That's what Grant Hill kept referencing.
Yeah, they got it going quickly.
Yeah.
And the problem was Gonzaga finally did get it going, and they got back in the game a couple times. They cut it to 9, but the problem was Baylor just was too good a basketball team last night.
And if you're going over this, and a lot of people want to talk about East and West of the Mississippi national championships, Kansas was the last team to win a national championship west of the Mississippi back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, you got to go all the way back to 97. Arizona was the team of west of the Mississippi to win a national championship. So Texas also, I should say, Baylor also crossing that off the list as well. Teams west of the Mississippi winning national championships. All right, we are just about ready to hit the halfway point of the show. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to kind of change topics a little bit as we bring in our first guest of the morning.
Yes, the beat writer for 24/7 Sports, and that's Auburn Undercover, good friend of ours. Nathan King is going to give us an Auburn football update as spring practice is rolling on. And they got a chance to speak to the coaching staff, not just Brian Harsin, but they had a chance to speak to some of the assistant coaches yesterday. Got some good stuff from Cadillac Williams. Got some good stuff from some of these new staff members that we're beginning to learn more and more about for the Auburn Tigers that Brian Harsin has brought with him from Boise State, and he's hired from around the SEC. So we'll get a chance to catch up with Nathan King here in a few minutes.
And then coming up later in the hour, North Carolina made it official. Hubert Davis will be their next head coach. They just looked down the bench. They got Roy Williams. Roy Williams was a big advocate to get Hubert Davis that head coaching job. Coming up later in the hour, we'll have the guy that helped break that story for Hubert Davis becoming North Carolina's head coach.
Yes, Greg Barnes of Inside Carolina, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, and he'll join us later in the program. But Nathan King coming up.
Your home of the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
It's kicked. Waddle from the 1 to the 5. Cuts left to the 10. Stays left to the 15. Up the middle, 20. He'll cut to the outside, 25, 30. He gets outside the contain. Down the left sideline. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Alabama! 99 yards on the kickoff return by one of America's most impressive kick and punt returners, Jalen Waddle. Touchdown, Alabama! Here's a 3rd and 10 from the 45. Dropping back Abraham. Dropping down Abraham. Covered up by 3 guys, Abraham. And that's the 2nd sack of the day.
Every touchdown from the Crimson Tide Sports Network. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Our only accident was Highway 53 near Douglas. It was completely off the road, not really causing any problem. Had a structure fire indicator on Hillwood, had a vehicle fire indicator at the La Quinta on the Beltline, and they've had a chase going on with a suspect involved in all that. They've got him in custody, 13th and West Moulton. A lot of investigation going on there. Snelling has immediate need for an experienced customer service rep. It is a warehouse standing position that takes and fills orders. Snelling 382-4000. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Mostly sunny skies this afternoon. It's going to be a beautiful day across the Tennessee Valley. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s. It's more than likely some of the traditionally warm spots could actually see 80 degrees. We only fall into the mid 50s as we head into the overnight. More cloud cover for your Wednesday. It does look like we are going to stay dry on Wednesday afternoon. Still getting to enjoy a fair amount of sunshine, but again, you are going to notice that additional cloud cover across the area. Highs again hanging out in the mid and upper 70s. Some of us seeing 80 degrees. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Now that Baylor has won the national championship, a look ahead to the odds for next year's title winner. Gonzaga returns as the favorite at plus 850, with Florida State at plus 1100, Michigan at plus 1300, and Villanova at plus 1400. Baylor, the defending champs, at plus 1800. UFC Fight Night in Vegas Saturday. Middleweight Kevin Holland at plus 250 against Marvin Vettori at minus 325 in the main event. Updated odds for the Masters. Justin Johnson remains the favorite at 8-1. Jordan Spieth up to 10-1. Bryson DeChambeau and Justin Thomas each at 12-1 odds, followed by John Rahm at 14-1 and Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay, and Xander Schauffele at 20-1. Masters underway Thursday in Augusta. I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Okay, Nathan's ready. Here we go. As always, this segment of Talking Ball brought to you by our very good friends over at Terrell Technical Services Incorporated. They offer that full line of environmental health and safety services, including industrial hygiene, asbestos, mold and bacterial services, Legionella testing, water management plans, lead-based paint inspection assessments and abatement plans, environmental site assessments, LEED certified air testing, and more. Their staff does hold all U.S. EPA accreditations and nationally recognized certifications and credentials to necessitate your project to completion. Give Terrell Technical Services a call today at 256-461-9278 to discuss your environmental health or safety needs. Again, 256-461-9278. And we teased it a little bit in the first hour. We're going to kick off hour number 2 with our first guest as we kind of get an update on spring football down on the plains. The Auburn Tigers, I believe, maybe this week, I think it's this week, has another open scrimmage to the public. If not this week, it's coming up very soon. But we need to get an update on everything going on inside Brian Harson's first spring with the Auburn Tigers.
Yes, and talk some basketball because we've talked about Bruce Pearl's program too. And Scott, earlier in the show in the first hour, we were talking about how Scott Drew has mastered the transfer portal and that Tennessee, football-wise, is going to have to really get a grip on it because they have a lot of holes to fill, on both sides of the ball. With all the departures and the coaching staff change, as we know, Josh Heupel now in the hot seat in the coaching, head coaching role there in Tennessee. But Auburn has got some interesting decisions to make because they've had some departures. Justin Powell, who's now going from Auburn to Tennessee. Sharif Cooper ends up being a one and done. And so Bruce Pearl is going to have to continue to restock his roster. And who better than to break that down and break down Auburn spring football? He does an outstanding job as the beat writer for Auburn Undercover, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, and that's Nathan King. Nathan, you're back with Drew and Scott. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
I think we got you.
Good morning, Nathan.
How are you, bud? We're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. We got you.
Yeah, how about now?
Yeah,
there we go.
There we go. Perfect. Welcome, Nathan. Welcome back, brother. And I know before we delve into Brian Harsin and what you guys had a chance to speak to the coaching staff yesterday, you just penned an outstanding article. There's some big decisions looming in the next week or two for Auburn basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because, we just did this last night with that national title game, and, a lot of definitely football now at Auburn. The heat is not getting turned down for Bruce Pearl's basketball program. I heard you guys, talking about it beforehand, but the transfer portal is certainly more prominent than ever in both college football and college basketball. And Auburn basketball's got a number of really big targets, both in the transfer portal and on the recruiting trail, which the latter of those is something that is pretty interesting to me just because for the longest time, Auburn basketball only had 2 recruits coming in this season. I say only, it's not too ridiculous when you look at basketball. And now it looks like they've had the possibility of bringing in more guys. So, like you said, over the next couple weeks, I believe the signing period for basketball begins April 14th. So you'll start to see things get put into motion then. But definitely keep an eye on Bruce Pearl's program because this is a team that could turn into. I already think they should be an NCAA tournament contender next year, but obviously if you lose a guy, and you've already lost Sharif Cooper to the NBA, if Jason Thor chooses to keep his name in that draft process, now you're a little bit thinner in the front court, so maybe you could get some guys in this transfer portal to really help you out and put you back into contender status for the NCAA tournament.
What would be the chances of Auburn landing some of these big names like a Xavier Pinson from Missouri through that transfer portal? Well,
not to sound incredibly stuck up, but if you're a subscriber, you'll be able to find out that information. But I will say, though, the chances with all of these guys to get at least one or two of them very high. I haven't seen Auburn have this much momentum with different targets in a long time. I know last year there was a lot of excitement over guys like Jonathan Kuminga, and then obviously Jalen Green was a possibility to come to Auburn. But it was just kind of, full of targets. You see them every once in a while, and they really only count them on one hand. Now it's kind of this laundry list of players that Auburn is going after at a bunch of different positions because, it was just kind of, you're looking at backcourt, but now if a guy like JT Thor doesn't come back to Auburn, you're going to need another big man filling that in the front court. So I would say we'll probably be on here in weeks talking about at least one or two of these guys because right now they've got, even if JT Thor comes back, they've got 3 open roster spots. So the possibility of them landing some of these guys and some of these transfers, swapping out their old jerseys for an Auburn jersey, I think is pretty high right now. The likelihood of at least a couple of them sticking is pretty high.
So that was going to be my next question. So with they have 2 outstanding signees coming in. We know that Jabari Smith, one of the best players in the country, top 5 player, the highest rated prospect Auburn has ever signed. Alexander from Oklahoma, outstanding guard, but they have room for 3 more guys. Is that correct?
Yes, as of now, if JT Thor, the 3 more guys. You guys know that you don't have to take all of those. You don't have to fill up every single one of them. You can just eat a scholarship spot if you really want to. I believe they actually did that last year. So, yeah, they took a scholarship penalty last season as part of the postseason ban. They were down to 12 scholarships, but back up to 13 right now. And, yeah, they could take 3 transfers or 2 transfers and a guy out of the recruiting class. So it'll be interesting to see how Bruce Pearl sort of does that chess match in terms of figuring out his numbers here.
Yeah, no question about that. And we've been hearing the name Walker Kessler for a while, and that was expected because we of course we had Coach David Sisk on our show, and he told us at that point in time that Gonzaga was in his mind the favorite. I still think they're heavily involved, but people have to understand that Auburn was heavily involved with him the first go round. It's kind of like Alabama with Namari Burnett, and I think they're the favorite to snag his commitment this week out of the transfer portal. But now that young man has moved on from North Carolina, their new era with Hubert Davis, I'm not surprised that I've been hearing some buzz that Auburn's involved there, Nathan.
Yeah, I think that's a really good. I hadn't really thought about Burnett. It's kind of the same situation, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is involved out of high school, and that really matters. I remember a couple years ago, like summer of 2019, Walker Kessler being on campus, and I believe it was the Big Cat weekend, and he put Auburn in his top 3. Mm-hmm. And remembering back then, North Carolina really swooped in at the last minute. It was kind of, people thought it was coming down to Auburn and Duke. Georgia was involved there as well. I think Michigan was in play. So, yeah, certainly Auburn, that is one of, if not their biggest targets right now in the transfer portal, has a great relationship dating back to high school with Bruce Pearl. He's a guy that lived, in high school in Georgia, only 2 hours from Auburn's campus, even though he's a Georgia legacy. His family, I believe they have a lake house somewhere pretty close, so they'd come visit Auburn all the time. This is, in terms of proximity for Auburn, it's what you want. And there's a lot of familiarity there with the staff and with the location. So coming down to the wire here, like you talked about with guys like Kessler, I think Auburn is definitely in play for them. And we'll just all have to wait and see what happens. But I really do think that if they're able to land a couple of these guys, the roster makeup for next year's team really changes for the better. And I think they turn themselves into a much better team, a team that is going to be making a lot of noise in the SEC.
Yeah, I agree. And if Chet Holmgren from the same high school as Jalen Suggs goes to Gonzaga, the 7-1 guy, I think that would increase Auburn's chances.
Yeah, that's an interesting one when you look at that. I know a lot of Auburn fans are kind of using that as convincing themselves of that. I wonder though if Gonzaga is one of those teams that, obviously things didn't work out well for them last night, but just having so much success down the roster, I wonder how much that matters for Walker Kessler. Obviously, like you said, I don't think he'll be able to play both of those guys at the same time since they're both sort of true centers, but Kessler could still get something, like 30 minutes a game. So But yeah, that's certainly something that Auburn fans are using to try to convince themselves that Auburn is a much better landing spot because, of course it is. Of course it is to Auburn fans.
Well, I tell you what, you are right. It is amazing. 5 years ago to sit here and say Auburn would be at the forefront of a lot of these big-time transfer destinations or even getting some of the top recruits. 5 years ago, I mean, Bruce Pearl had a vision, and this vision is starting to come to fruition. It's almost like, should we be talking about getting, Bill Self got a lifetime deal at Kansas the other day. I'm not saying Bruce Pearl gets a lifetime deal at Auburn, but should we be tacking on years to this contract for Bruce Pearl at Auburn?
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate that things turned out the way they did last year with the NCAA tournament being canceled, because if it hadn't been, you'd be talking about 3 straight NCAA tournaments for Auburn under Bruce Pearl. And I mean, I know it's not official, but I mean, that's basically the case. Bruce Pearl had this program making 3 straight NCAA tournaments, and at Auburn, as you all know, that just doesn't happen. It's definitely one of the bottom feeders in the SEC. So you're exactly right. I mean, as long as this trend continues for Auburn in terms of their consistent success on the court and then continuing to be one of the stronger schools, not only in the SEC, but in the country on the recruiting trail, continuing to get guys. I mean, they're about to have their 3rd straight first-round NBA draft pick. That kind of stuff happens at Blue Bloods and the bigger programs in the country. That doesn't happen at Auburn. So you're exactly right. There's only a couple more years of this left for Bruce Pearl before you say, bar none, he is the best coach in Auburn history, and there's no doubt that he's going to have this program set up for success for a long time.
No question about it. And now to switch gears to football, what are your impressions and takes really as we're about the halfway point of Brian Harson's first spring at Auburn?
Yeah, so we're getting back into things. This week we had a week off for sort of a spring break, sort of a staycation thing. The university students aren't given a spring break this year, but Brian Harsin still wanted to give everybody a week off, and it was good for the coaches too to have some evaluation time because they didn't know these players very well, and they'd be the first to admit that. So basically, they kind of spent the first half of spring practice, those first 2 weeks, getting to know everybody, getting to know their personnel, seeing what they have and what they don't have. And now this second week, or the second half of spring practice, is going to be putting everything into motion, getting guys where they need to be, sort of finding out what they've got in terms of position battles, getting into the nitty-gritty of things. So it's been really fun so far. I've really enjoyed, like you talked about, we got to talk to the offensive assistant coaches. Yesterday, we're talking to the defensive assistant coaches. Tomorrow, and it's just been fun to see Harson's differences we've talked about on here before between him and Malzahn. I mean, it really just seems like a complete culture switch, and it feels like I'm covering almost a completely new program. So that's pretty fun and exciting, and I think it'll culminate with a pretty fun A-Day game. But so far, I mean, everybody wins in the spring. Spring is, everybody is the off-season national champion. Every player is a standout. Every quarterback is going to be the best in the conference. So there's lots of room for positivity, but so far it really does seem like everything is sort of meshing well, and all the players are gelling with their new coaching staffs.
I believe, do they have another open practice for the fans coming up?
So you mentioned that at the start. So we are going into the stadium on Saturday to watch practice. I do not know if that is open to the public. I'm going to pull up the email right now, but yeah, I expected them to have one more. I expected them to have another one. Spring is over, but if they don't have it this weekend, I mean, the one right after that is A-Day, so maybe they'll just leave it up to that. But yeah, this one I think this weekend is just for reporters.
Mm-hmm. And looking forward to getting a first-hand look. I know you had a chance to speak to Cadillac Williams. What were your impressions there? He's really the one holdover that you guys covered from this staff under Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, I mean, he talked about that process, last, I guess, December to January. I just can't really imagine. I mean, that's kind of a difficult situation for him to kind of watch all of his friends be shown the door, and he doesn't know whether or not he's going to be kept on staff. But he had conversations early on with Brian Harsin. Of course, I reached out to him, actually, not just because he wanted to vet him as a coaching candidate, but also just to figure out more about Auburn. I mean, Brian Harsin knows who Cadillac Williams is. He knows that name. He knows he's got that Auburn pedigree. And so over time, Cadillac said that, he wanted to stay humble. He wanted to definitely put himself in a sort of, I guess, unbiased would probably be the best way to say it, but I mean, at times he really couldn't do that just because he loves Auburn so much. He wanted to let Brian Harsin know that. He thinks that shines through in the interview process, and Harsin was able to figure that out about him and see it as an asset to this staff. But yeah, he said it was a nerve-wracking experience. I mean, it had to have been to see all of your other coaching staff members get overturned and sent out the building. And but like you said, Cadillac is the one holdover, and I think that really matters for this running back room because you get a guy like Tank Bigsby and a guy like Sean Shivers who figure to be pretty important this season. You get them with some continuity and feeling like they have good experience with their position coach.
How is that all? I mean, last year, everybody wanted to pinpoint the offensive line, their production or lack of production at times. How have we seen that offensive line kind of develop early? I know it's early in spring, but how have we seen that offensive line kind of gel together? And what were the talk around the offensive line coaches?
Yeah, so we talked to Will Friends yesterday. He admitted that they haven't done much through the first couple weeks. He sort of just went with the same group that they had last season. Everybody was given a clean slate. It was a completely new coaching staff looking at these guys and evaluating these guys. They weren't basing things off last year's film or who started last year or anything like that. But they ended up with the same guys left to right. Obviously, Brandon Council, who was probably their best player before he got hurt, is still not back. He's got a shoulder injury right now. He had the knee injury last year. They expect him back by fall camp. But this is just going to be a long haul, I think. We're going to be still talking about the offensive line well into fall camp, and one of the biggest reasons for that is that Kessler will be back. Or, excuse me, Nick Kessler. I'm looking at that right now. Council will be back by then, and so you've got to insert him somehow because he's one of your best players. So yeah, right now things are pretty much the same in terms of the offensive line rotation, but I do think guys are taking to Will Friend's instruction pretty well because that's a difficult thing for them. It's their third offensive line coach in as many years, so you definitely want to see them take to him well and start to understand his terminology well. And Will Friend told us yesterday, I mean, it's just all a matter of repetition for the offensive line. So as the spring goes on, they'll start to understand him better. He'll understand them better. Hopefully by the summer or the fall, he'll have a better idea of who exactly he wants that starting five to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting old because I can remember when Cornelius Williams played for Hoover, and I think that was during the two-a-days, MTV show. He was a really good receiver for them. He goes on to play. He played in the Tim Tebow game. Then he goes on to Troy to be a really good player and gets into coaching. Now Brian Harsin brings him in to replace Cody Burns. And the one thing we've heard consistently since spring started, and you alluded to that on your Twitter account by Nathan King, is the rise of Javarius Johnson, who's now healthy and was a great player at Hewitt-Trussville.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really put much stock into just one coach or one teammate, singling out a guy as a standout player. But Javarius, I mean, it's been 4 or 5 different people singling him out and unsolicited, right? I mean, we didn't really ask how Javarius Johnson is doing, but every single time it seems like they just want to talk about him. So that makes me pretty convinced that he's making a big impact. Obviously, that's a thin receiver room right now, just because you have 3 injuries to guys who were going to make an impact and will make an impact by the time the fall rolls around. And Javarius Johnson, like you talked about, he was Trussville, has taken absolute advantage of that and has really solidified himself as a playmaker. He's a guy who can also make plays going side to side. Should be a good fill-in for the Anthony Schwartz, Eli Stone type, flanker slot receiver mold who's going to be able to make plays, carrying the ball in kind of speed sweep situations as well. But he's had a lot of success getting down the field too, creating separation down the field. He's definitely a guy that, honestly, I wasn't very much on my radar. I didn't know how if he was going to be able to crack this rotation, but certainly he's been the most hyped player for the offense so far this spring.
Yeah, and then from your colleague Keith Niebuhr, my last comment is, I saw what Carnell Williams Cadillac said about him. I've been hearing a lot about Brad Bedell since he got there, the tight ends coach. Sounds like he's brought a lot of energy to the recruiting trail.
He is. He was so fun to talk to yesterday. Just a very, very genuine person. You almost kind of forgot you were talking to a football coach. He was just that kind of laid back and fun. And yeah, I mean, we've heard good things about him for months. I mean, ever since he got on campus. Definitely, when you look at this assistant coaching pool, all of them are doing a good job. I mean, right, like we talked about spring, everybody's doing a good job. But Dell is the number one guy that you hear the most out of. This tight ends room absolutely adores him. I mean, the players in this room feel like they've hit an absolute home run getting him. I've talked to the parents. I had a story on J.J. Pegues last week, and J.J. Pegues' dad just kept going on and on about how much J.J. loves Brad Bedell and how much these tight ends love him. And it's an interesting situation for him because he comes over as a guy with an offensive line background, coaching offensive line. And so as these tight ends in the room learn how to play a little bit more fullback, learn how to play a different tight end role within Brian Harsin and Mike Bobo's offense, he's learning too. He's learning, sort of transitioning with them. So he's not going to put them in a box. I thought it was kind of interesting. He said, you don't want your tight ends to be pigeonholed because then they get on the field and the defense knows exactly what play you're running. And a lot of people pointed fingers at Gus Malzahn when he said that, because I think that definitely happens sometimes. But that's one of the positions on the roster. I'm definitely most excited to see how it looks under Brian Harsin. I think it'll look a lot different than it did the past couple of years.
Great stuff. Nathan King, must follow, covering the Auburn Tigers. Thanks for the updates. And again, check out his article. It's extensive on Bruce Pearl and basketball. Just put that out this morning. But let everybody know how to connect with you in Auburn Undercover. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on Twitter at @ByNathanKing, and you can find all of our stories and coverage at auburnundercover.com.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank y'all. Y'all take care.
That's some interesting stuff there, especially with Auburn basketball and what they're going to do here with the transfer portal and Bruce Pearl.
A lot of guys, they got their irons in the fire. A lot of guys are going to.
Yeah.
I think they're going to add. I think they're going to use all three of them scholarships probably.
And
especially
really,
if they get Kessler.
And on the football side,
yeah,
it sounds like it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it would gone stale. Stale as week-old bread, like Jeff.
All right, let's take a break because when we come back, Greg Barnes going to join the show. We hope.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Hello, can you hear me?
You want an extended break? Let's see here. Greg, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can
Testing
you hear me?
1, 2. Come on, Ray. You got to be at the controls, man.
Okay, let's see here.
Can you hear us, Greg?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, he can hear us perfectly fine. I hear him in the headset.
Okay, we got you. Well, this is the first time that we have done a Zoom. We're in our break, so we're good.
Yeah,
this is
we're
the
good.
first time we've routed a Zoom through the board, so we're just making sure you can hear us.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I got you good.
Hey,
Oh, perfect.
This is awesome, and we really appreciate it. We know you're busy, and great job on the breaking the story, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, we'll be back in about a minute or two here, and we'll go to you. But thank you, man.
Yep, for sure.
Oh, we did it. Good job, Scott.
More. See if there's a plastic bag in that one.
Masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
The PGA Tour's Korn Ferry Tour is coming to the Rocket City. Join us at the Ledges for the inaugural Huntsville Championship, April 29th through May 2nd. Experience the beauty and drama of the course firsthand. Witness golf's rising stars chase their PGA Tour dreams. Cheer on the future of golf up close and personal. Tickets are on sale now at HuntsvilleChampionship.com.
Coming up next, it's the Tom Abraham Show with me, Tom Abraham. Now back to more Talkin Ball with Scott and Drew.
Okay, you're on, bro. All right, welcome back. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And let's keep the basketball talk rolling along with our next guest, because we told you earlier in the show, North Carolina didn't look too far down the line to get their next head coach.
No, and I said this last week that I felt like the two top guys were, Hubert Davis and Wes Miller of UNC Greensboro, because Carolina is truly family when it comes to basketball. They've not gone outside the bubble since Coach Smith had such a storied run as a Hall of Famer after playing, for Kansas, in Fog Allen and building Carolina back into a superpower. We know Bill Guthridge followed him, his longtime assistant. And then Matt Doherty came in, another Carolina guy, played with Michael Jordan on that 82 team. That didn't work out. And then after 4 years, Roy Williams comes in. And really, he was the only guy that could take that job. He leaves Kansas to come to Carolina, and he just finishes 18 years with 3 national championships. And now the new era has commenced. And the guy that broke this story, he's been with us before. He's now joining us via Zoom in the state of North Carolina. He does an outstanding job with Inside Carolina, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, and that's Greg Barnes. Greg, you're with Drew and Scott in Huntsville. Congratulations on breaking one of the biggest stories in college basketball. Welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this. Obviously, let's back it up a little bit. Yeah. Let's kind of fill in. It came out on April 1st. Everybody thought it was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, I'm serious. I thought it was when I first saw it. I could not believe it.
Yeah,
I knew, Coach Williams was frustrated with how things had gone the last couple of years. We knew he was 70 years old, but I thought, he was still had a few years left in him that he wanted to coach. But all of a sudden, right after his first ever, let's remember that, first round NCAA loss to Wisconsin, he came out and retired. You guys that cover it every day, how surprised were you guys that this came down?
Yeah, we thought it was a joke. I mean, we kept looking online, and all of a sudden, no, it's real.
Well, when you add the fact that Roy Williams is probably the most superstitious person on this planet.
Right.
I'm with you. As soon as we heard it, we're like, no, that's the April Fool's joke. And then that actually kind of slowed us down a little bit. But he let the team know, and he let his former players know probably 30 minutes before the announcement came out Thursday morning. So, yeah, we were certainly shocked. I mean, he went through the off-season meetings with all of his team following the Wisconsin game. He was even making recruiting calls as if he was going to be back earlier in the week. So it certainly took us by surprise. We knew it was coming eventually, but I really thought he was going to take another year or two to kind of make sure that North Carolina was in solid position before he handed it off to somebody else.
Well, then he makes the announcement that he's retiring, and instantly you start going through the Rolodex of tree names that could fill in and step into that spot. And there were several names, but then everybody kind of posed the question, does Carolina look outside the family for other names?
Yeah, and it really was a situation where you've got the Carolina family, which is very strong. They clearly want somebody from the inside. But when you start looking at that Carolina family tree, there hasn't been a lot of success. I mean, Wes Miller is one of the few guys. King Rice is another guy at Monmouth. But there hasn't been a high-level head coach to come out of that tree in a long time. But then you also have Bubba Cunningham is not a North Carolina guy. He's from Notre Dame. He's only been in Chapel Hill for 10 years. And so there are other people saying, okay, we need to make this a financial decision. Make sure you get the best possible candidate. So you had kind of a little bit of a competition there, if you will. You had the Carolina family people, and you had people who were saying, let's go outside the family. Let's make the best hire we can. And we see who won out.
Yeah, and how serious did Bubba Cunningham, I saw Jeff Goodman kind of reference it. You would know better than anyone. Did he vet outside candidates? How seriously did he do that?
He did for sure. He interviewed Hubert Davis on Friday, Wes Miller on Saturday, and there was a number of other candidates that he checked in with. Chris Holtman was a name that had some conversations. Brad Stevens is a guy that his name was actually brought up. And, when you talk about guys like that who are high-level candidates, you at least have to reach out and see what type of interest there is. So certainly Bubba looked outside the initial group. But I think at the end of the day, there was so much pull and pressure to hire somebody from within the family. Hubert Davis has a storied history with North Carolina. He's got NBA experience. He has ESPN and therefore PR experience. And they ultimately felt like he was the right decision.
Mm-hmm. Greg Barnes joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline via Zoom this morning. And Greg, then when did you first get, obviously, Hubert Davis had a lot of steam. That was the guy who Roy Williams wanted to succeed him. Maybe not those of the North Carolina people, but when did you get word that Hubert Davis was going to be the guy?
Well, we knew that he was a leading candidate not long after Roy's retirement press conference on Thursday. The question was going to be, is anybody outside the family or maybe a Wes Miller type going to blow Bubba away in the interview process to kind of challenge Hubert's positioning? And clearly that did not happen. So we found out early Monday that things were heading in that direction. And then once the BOT decided to have a conversation about it, it was signed, sealed, and delivered.
Well, and then as Scott referenced, this is what the buzz we were hearing. I know Roy, he brought Hubert in 2012. He had been grooming him. Was that Roy's? We knew he was going to have input as he should. Was that his choice to succeed him, or did he try to give his opinion in the process in your mind?
Yep. I'm not in a position to say that was certainly Roy's choice. We knew that Roy certainly encouraged Hubert as a candidate.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that.
Right.
But yeah, there's no doubt about it that Roy actually went to Hubert Davis in 2012 when he was at ESPN and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come be my assistant coach." And Hubert was like, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." And so that's how he got into coaching, is because Roy asked him to join his staff. Everybody says that Hubert's the nicest guy in the world. He really likes the Dean Smith approach. It's what he grew up with. His uncle, Walter Davis, played for North Carolina. And so Roy's always had an attachment to Hubert. And there was some question, does Hubert actually want the job? Just because of the way that he hasn't really kind of pushed his way through situations. But he made it abundantly clear that he did, in fact, want the job. And I'm sure he'll get some help from Roy Williams along the way.
Yeah, that's the question now. I mean, he's been an assistant coach.
50 years old, yeah.
Yeah, 50 years, but not a head coach. And he's taken over a North Carolina program that obviously is a blue blood. It's expectation-led. What would obviously the expectations now switch to Hubert Davis being that guy to get North Carolina back to that championship level?
Yeah, well, expectations will not change in Chapel Hill. That's for sure. But really, the question is, one of the things that kind of got to Roy here late is the fact that the game has changed. It's turned into more of a either a layup or a three-point shot, which is a little bit different than what he coaches. And then you add in the fact that the one-time transfer rules coming down the pipe. You have name, image, and likeness to deal with. Those are a lot of things that Roy Williams was uncomfortable with. And so one of the conversations with Hubert is, okay, Roy was not in the proper mindset to want to have to deal with these things. You're going to have to. And apparently he knocked those questions out of the park. We don't know the details on those yet. Hopefully we'll get those today. But those are the key things. And if he can navigate those items, which is going to be a challenge for everybody, that should set him up to have some success.
It should, and that's what's interesting is the transfer portal too, because Coach Williams had prided himself on Carolina. Only time they were leaving was to go to the NBA. They didn't have a lot of guys leaving the program to transfer out, but Walker Kessler did. I know that bothered him. The transfer portal is going to be key for Hubert to keep this roster together. What's the early buzz on that? Certainly Kessler is not returning, but I know he needs to keep the rest of this roster together if possible. And then, of course, perhaps add pieces as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the big key right now for Hubert Davis is trying to recruit Armando Bacot, who is right now currently considering whether or not he should test the waters. And if Hubert's able to get him come back, that gives you a legitimate all-ACC level forward in the middle. And they've got some good guards coming back with Caleb Love deciding to return. The 2 recruits they have coming in, both local kids, they've already said they're going to come in. So, yeah, he will certainly have to reach out into the portal. One thing that they had already talked about, they need to find like a stretch 4 or somebody in the post who can step out and knock down some outside shots. And they also need a scoring wing. Leaky Black is their wing right now. He's not a guy known for scoring. He's more of a glue guy. But that's kind of what they're hoping Hubert can be able to do. He is a high risk hire, but he's also a high reward, and they're clearly banking on that latter part being the key here.
And I know he's going to have to put together his staff. That's going to be very important. Longtime fixtures like Steve Robinson has been with Roy Williams for a long, long time. How different will the staff be, and how quickly can they get it put together in order to hit the this transfer portal and of course, to recruit? Do you think – because most of the high-level prospects that we're used to seeing out of the high school ranks, North Carolina, Pursuit, have already made their decision. So is it going to be a situation where a lot of the guys they're recruiting are going to be in the portal when he puts his staff together?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, the fact there's already 1,200 kids in the portal is kind of mind-boggling at this point in time. One of the reasons that they made this hire very quickly is so that Hubert could go ahead and get his staff together. I think there are going to be changes, but the concept's the same because you're going to have a lot of North Carolina guys. One name you guys are familiar with that I think is going to be a leading candidate for assistant coach job is Jeff Lebo. Who spent a lot of time at Auburn.
Yep.
And of course, he played with Hubert when they were both in Chapel Hill. So he'll keep it within the family, I imagine, in terms of assistant coaches. But I suspect that unit will be filled out, at least coaching staff-wise, if not today, maybe even tomorrow.
Yeah, well, Walker Kessler is a name that's getting mentioned a lot as a guy that's in that transfer portal along with the other 1,199 other guys.
Yeah, and so Kessler, you don't think there's any shot that he's going to return?
I don't think so. I think once you make the decision that you're going to enter the portal, especially at North Carolina, I think that pretty much wraps it up. The fact that he did not like the way he was being utilized, did not like what was projected for him in the future, I don't think there's going to be enough of a change in what Hubert Davis does to warrant consideration for Walker to return, which is a tragedy because Walker Kessler, I think, has all the potential in the world.
Oh yeah,
but so it goes.
Yeah, that's the way it is sometimes. And now we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you. I know there's going to be a lot of expectation, but with spring football and Mac Brown and now signing the contract extension and he's reworked his coaching staff, bringing Larry Porter in to take Robert Gillespie's spot. I would imagine going into this year 3 for Coach Mac Brown, there's got to be a lot of excitement. And I know Clemson's having to retool a little bit, but you've got Sam Howell coming back. I heard Mel Kiper talking about him perhaps being the top quarterback in the 2022 NFL draft. What about the excitement around Carolina football right now?
Yeah, it's at a fever pitch, and it's really, you got to go back to 2010 before the NCAA issues to kind of see this level of excitement. And North Carolina has 21 of their 22 starters from the Orange Bowl returning. And Sam Howell is an early Heisman candidate. And I do think Kuiper's correct that they think he'll go probably top 5 as long as he continues what he's done. And so they think they can win the Coastal Division in the ACC and compete with Clemson for the title. I still think defensively they're probably a year or 2 away. But really how much Jay Bateman can get that defense to take a step forward will really determine how good this team could be. Because I think the offense, while they lose some key pieces, having Sam Howell is critically important, and that will continue to be one of the top offenses in the country.
Wow. Well, good stuff.
Great stuff.
Yes.
And Greg, we know it's a busy one for you. Thank you for letting us bring you in via Zoom. We really want to do this again soon when Hubert Davis maybe gets this roster set and gets his coaching staff set. But thank you for your insight and kudos on breaking the story, which was a national one yesterday, and let everybody know how they can connect with you guys at Inside Carolina.
Well, it's InsideCarolina.com, and our Twitter is @InsideCarolina. So it's pretty easy to follow us, and it should be a lot of exciting news here in the next week or so regarding Hubert. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Greg Barnes with us, the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline via Zoom this morning. We pulled it off.
Adding to the repertoire.
We did. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
She's got a new wreck in Decatur, 6th Avenue south of the Beltline. Sounds like that one's got a lot of debris in the roadway. 53 south of Jeff's got an injury reported. And look for bridge work northbound Tennessee River Bridge, I-65 throughout the day today. They should have the right lane blocked off there. You can get Popeye Shrimp Tackle Box or the Surf and Turf for $5. 8 crunchy buttermilk shrimp or 4 regular shrimp with a side and biscuit. Popeye, Jordan Lane, North Parkway, or 72 at Jeff Road. Captain Nick in the Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford, at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. Still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. I want to thank you. Thank you for making us your #1 choice for sports talk in North Alabama.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Oh, we have 12 minutes to the bumper. Mike's on.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, if we were looking for headlines today, tomorrow type of thing, we talked a little bit about it. We talked it briefly when we had the pleasantry of talking to Jeff from the Borough with his such a ray of sunshine outlook on life. Major League Baseball has moved the All-Star game from Atlanta to Colorado, and the mayor of Denver says that we really believe that we have come out at the forefront and will continue to try to innovate and make sure that on the basis of the value of accessibility, that is #1. He said that we are proud to welcome it and talk about the progressive voting system in Denver that is bent on making sure no one is abridged from their right to vote. That is the message from the Denver mayor on Coors Field getting the Major League All-Star game instead of Atlanta.
Yeah, great. Whoop-de-doo. It'll be the first All-Star game for Coors Field since 1998, so it has been a while.
It has.
Certainly in the future, we hope Major League Baseball wises up and isn't run by morons. That's another moron award. Rob Manfred, of course, he could get one every day with the way he leads Major League Baseball and the way their labor strife continues to happen year in and year out, just like passing this stupid, extra inning rule, put a guy on second base. Let's not have a DH where you can score more runs and maybe not have an extra inning game, or if you do, decide it quicker. No, let's put some freaking, little league rule in for Major League Baseball. Now, those rules,
Do you think, though,
I can see it on the developmental stages of baseball, a rule like that. Even to do it in softball, but I can't see it in Major League Baseball at the highest level. I just think it's stupidity. But again, Major League Baseball has, for 25, 30 years, not had very good leadership. They still don't. I mean, I don't care. Jeff can go put his, stick his head in a holler or in a hole or whatever, and just kind of act like and just keep whistling past the graveyard. But it's the truth. Major League Baseball has issues, and this is just another kind of reason to shine light on it.
And I get a chuckle out of this because, Boxtro has ranked the FCS HBCU football coaches poll.
Yeah.
And Alabama A&M is number 1.
Wow.
They've played 2 games.
Yeah. I mean, we feel for them.
We do feel for them. They're 2-0. Yeah, they're 2-0.
Something happens every week where they can't get on the field. And it's out of their control.
It is. We hope that they get to play this week. So that's all we can say about that. Alabama did make it official yesterday, one of the headlines, and that they do have the staff filled from Jay Graham departing.
Yeah, Drew Swoboda. Let's see if I can say that 3 times fast. But yeah, Drew Swoboda, who is the special teams coach. He had been at Memphis through the spring, but before that, 3 years, including 2020 during this pandemic-affected season at Rice. He's a longtime high school coach in the Houston area who had made the jump to Division I. He's young, energetic. His special teams at Rice were all highly ranked. Coach Saban vetted him and has hired him to replace Jay Graham. Same role, tight ends and special teams, but he's a young riser and going to continue to give him recruiting ties in the state of Texas. So a nice hire for Alabama. And they get it done before the end of spring practice, which is surprising a little bit with the timings and things of that nature. But from what I was understanding, I think Memphis may have finished their spring practice. And so he was able to make the move from Memphis to Alabama.
All right, we're going to talk some more football here to wrap up the show. But the other headline, and it's a new coaching hire, Auburn has their new head women's basketball coach. And we didn't get a chance to ask Nathan King about this, but Joni Harris takes over for Auburn, and she has a long pedigree as an assistant coach. She was part of the assistant staff that helped Texas A&M win a national championship in 2011. And she was on the Mississippi State staff that reached the title games in 2017 and 2018. So Auburn has a new head women's basketball coach as well.
Yeah, Coach Harris is known as an elite recruiter. That's what she said yesterday. It's all about recruiting. She's going to have to get some talent in there to Auburn. They went winless this year in the SEC, and that's even though Coach Flo made multiple NCAA tournaments, she was dismissed at Auburn. She actually had a pretty good run for the majority of her time there. Last 2 years, especially this year, were rough. So a new era in Auburn women's basketball as they hire one of the elite assistants in the country who had helped Vic Schaefer reach 2 national championship games at Mississippi State and helped Texas reach the Sweet 16 this year as far as on the ladies' side and knock out that really good Maryland team that soundly whipped Alabama's ladies in the second round of the NCAA. So a new era for Auburn women's basketball. A lot going on the Plains right now. No question about that.
All right, let's get back to some college football, some spring football updates around everywhere else. Mississippi State, they went through their first scrimmage over the weekend, and Mike Leach giving us his thoughts on the Bulldogs scrimmage.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought for a first scrimmage it was good. for a number of reasons. One, I thought we had, we went out and generally executed, and yeah, it was sloppy at places. Both sides have plenty to be happy with. Both sides have plenty to be pissed about, which is typically the sign of of a good scrimmage. Then also, we were able to line up with threes, and it actually looked like football. So I was pleased with that, just from a potential depth standpoint.
Mike Leach giving us his true feelings about how he felt after the first scrimmage for the Bulldogs.
Well, and I expect improvement. Coach Leach, wherever he's been, when he's rebuilt, Texas Tech, when he rebuilt Washington State, it was always rough at the beginning, but he always got it rolling, got him very competitive. And so I'm going to be really interested to see the progress in year two for Mississippi State. Now, defensively, they were pretty good. Now, they've lost some talent like an E. Thompson, who had such a great,
tenure there for Mississippi State.
It seemed like he was there forever, but he had a great, run there with at linebacker for the maroon and white. And again, they were able to retain their DC, who did such a great job, coming over from Navy. He was kind of a sought after guy. And so they're going to have to plug some holes on that side of the ball, but they were very, very sound and solid. There's no doubt that offensively, I thought they made some progress with the young quarterback. He'll be going into his first full year starting. And then it just receiver wise, I think they had some square peg round hole situations. They need to get some of his guys in there to be able to get open, run routes, make plays. But I still think when it's all said and done, Mike Leach is going to be a pain in the ass in the SEC.
All right, let's stay in the West. Let's check in with Sam Pittman, get his post-scrimmage thoughts.
Finishing with get the ball back in 2 minutes and had a second 10 third down script. I liked the defense seemed to win most of the situations. We were on a discretionary week, a spring break week, and came back and practiced on Thursday. So we were basically off from the practice field for 8 days, and I felt like it showed on our offense with the accuracy of throws and hanging on the ball, jumping off sides. And we didn't play very smart football today on the offensive side of the ball, but some of that's I expected it. We certainly aren't sitting here going, we're happy that it happened, but there are some reasons behind some of the situations that happened today.
Sam sounds a little bit more subdued.
Well, I just think that's his coaching style. I think they did some good things at Arkansas in year one. he took over the biggest disaster really in the SEC when you think about the tenure, of Chad Morris. When you don't win an SEC game in 2 years and your program has slipped that far, and now Chad didn't have a lot of success in helping Gus Malzahn avoid the firing line at Auburn, and now he's moved down to high school where he's at Allen, Texas, probably where he needs to be. I know he had some success as the OC at Clemson, but his success was middling at SMU. I don't think he's a head coach, honestly. I wasn't impressed with the improvement fundamentally of Bo Nix at Auburn under his leadership. I know part of that was the offensive line, but still, I didn't think fundamentally that Bo got better. So certainly, we'll see what Brian Harsin and his staff can do, because Bo Nix is the key for Auburn, no doubt about that. But I thought Sam Pittman, for what he inherited, made them very competitive. They certainly couldn't compete with Alabama, but they competed with the rest of the SEC. That was a huge win, that they got over Ole Miss, when they were, able to, as a secondary, I think they had 6 interceptions in that game. So I think overall they made progress, and anxious to see maybe if they can potentially get to a bowl game in year 2 under Sam Pittman with a normal schedule.
Ah, shucks. Looks like we're going to run out of time. We're not going to be able to hear from Dabo Swinney on the Clemson's post-scrimmage or whatever they had in Clemson.
DJ Uiagalelei, huh? I mean,
man,
he's already being hyped to be the number 1 pick in 2 years. So he's the next. He's the next chosen one. He's
there can only be though one greatest gift to man, though.
Well, we'll see. Just wait. I mean, Uiagalelei played well last year in his stead.
He did.
If he throws for 400 yards in game 1, or if they beat the Georgia Bulldogs, which I hope they do, then people are going to be going crazy over that, because then that just means 1-800-1980, and they're not winning again.
And Western Union needs a refund.
That's Venmo. But anyway,
Venmo needs They need a refund.
Yeah.
But Georgia. Hey, speaking of Georgia, though, they did get a transfer from West Virginia. In the defensive backfield.
Yeah, they got big time DB who's connected to his position coach, is now on staff with Kirby Smart. So that was the connection there. They had lost Tyreek Stevenson, who went back home to Miami. So they needed to bring in an experienced guy. Georgia's, they're going all in. They've got JT Daniels, who'll probably be the number 2 pick in the NFL draft if you ask Georgia fans. And he and Uiagalelei will probably be the top 2 for the Heisman Trophy. But I mean, JT is definitely talented. He did showcase outstanding arm talent. Now they've got receivers that we talked about with the George Pickens situation. That's not good. They've had receivers going down left and right. And, they're going to have to bring along some young guys, but certainly they've got a talent in JT Daniels. It should be the quarterback if it's not mismanaged this time from the opening snap.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. We've had a good show. We handed out not 1, but 2 moron awards today.
And we'll see going forward where Jermaine Burton is. He had a nice freshman year. He got hurt the other day. But
I think he's okay now. They said
a lot of questions, though, about that Georgia, the health of that wide receiver room.
All right. Guys, that's going to do it. We had a lot of fun today.
We did. Inside Carolina, Greg
Tint.
Onions. Great stuff from Greg via Zoom. We added that to it. Nathan King. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy this weather. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 7:01 a.m.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
With WOW Internet, your home is more than just a home. It can be your office, and also a school, and a gym, and a store, a movie theater, a bar. You need speed and reliability to do it all. Get Superfast Internet 100 for a crazy low $29.99 a month. Plus, for a limited time, get a free modem for 6 months. Sign up today at wowway.com.
Wow.
Limited to new customers with auto pay and paperless bill.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.